Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to the Access Blockbusters pod. Welcome to the Access Blockbusters YouTube channel. If you are new, please be sure to subscribe, give this video on YouTube a like, or if you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, on Anchor, please be sure to leave a review, leave some comments, leave some feedback, all of that good stuff. Guys, I've been really appreciating the support that you guys have been giving on the podcasts, and it's been really fun to make. It's been really fun to just kind of be able to sit down with you guys and virtually, I guess, through your computer screen, through YouTube, but just to talk about, what's going on and all the movie stuff. So I've been really excited about this. It's been a really great opportunity for me to just talk about things, just talk about what I want to talk about that happened this past week in movies and television. And yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot more to say in terms of housekeeping. Still, kind of in the pre-production stages of my next big series, my next big rewatch series. I think you guys will at least be interested. I hope you'll be excited about it. I'm excited about it. But yeah, I mean, that's about it for the intro. And we got some exciting topics today. I mean, it's really, last week I did an episode with just spoiler reviews, which was actually pretty fun for me. And I realized that this week is actually going to be pretty much the same thing, with just a couple little news things here and there. I know last week's episode went on for a little longer. It was about 90 minutes. I don't intend on making this episode 90 minutes. I do have to be off in about an hour or so anyway. So, yeah, with all that being said, let's get to the first thing that I have to talk about today. And by the way, sorry, I keep wanting to jump the gun. If you, I didn't hear many comments about the whole, going back and forth between the pictures thing. I'm doing it again, this week, in case you can tell. Oh, I guess you can't tell. I just have the logo up, the podcast logo up. But yeah, if you guys find it annoying, if you guys don't like it, let me know. I think it's at least something for you guys watching on YouTube and you guys who aren't watching on the on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. But if it's annoying, let me know. And I'll go back to the normal, just putting up the logo and talking over that. Yeah, okay. I think the housekeeping is out of the way. Let's get to the first thing I want to talk about today. So the first thing I want to talk about, it will be short. I won't go on about this too long. And if you've checked out the community tab on my YouTube channel, you guys would have seen my statement. I am basically just going to reiterate what I said there. I'm not going to go that much further in detail. I don't think it's necessary. And I'm just going to put this up again, just like with all the other Access Blockbusters clips, as a 2 or 3 minute clip, however long this is. And I'm just going to say what I want to say about this, and we'll move on. So, The Flash, the movie, starring actor Ezra Miller, is being released in 2023. This has been a movie that's been planned for a long time. It's gone through many different directors, including Lord and Miller, I believe, and there was another very prominent director that I can't remember off the top of my head, but now the director is It Chapter 2 director Andy Muschietti. The film has actually been shot. As you can see from the picture, there are new characters coming in. There are multiple Flashes, there's Supergirl, Michael Keaton's Batman, and all that good stuff. So I was very excited, obviously, as I am with almost every single comic book movie, even Morbius, to watch this movie. I think it's exciting. I think that Flashpoint has the potential to be a really good story in the multiverse. And I just, I was excited to watch it. For those of you who don't know, and I'm sure many of you do, however, there has been a lot of drama, controversy, and public scandals involving the lead actor, Ezra Miller. I will not go into detail about what they are. I will just say that if you would like to read about what Ezra Miller has been alleged, the alleged actions that Ezra Miller has been accused of, and even videotaped and arrested for, you can look them up yourselves. I will just say that there have been numerous incidents now, not just one, not just two, not just three even, but several, 5, 6 separate incidents, I think, maybe 4 or 5 separate incidents, where the Flash star Ezra Miller has been under fire, under a lot of controversy. Now, I want to make something clear up front. in me saying that I am not necessarily saying that all of the allegations are true. I'm not also saying that they're untrue. I am saying that I don't know factually what happened, right? Because I am not Ezra Miller. I am not any of the people who were involved in this situation who would know factually. I do know what the rest of you would know if you were to go online and look up what happened, and looked at the mounting pile of evidence that seems to indicate that Ezra Miller is not in a good place right now. And that's all. It's not well and good. That's not what I meant to say. But that's all. All that aside, what I want to talk about here in particular is the fact that as of the recording of this video on Wednesday, June 15th, 2022, the company that employs Ezra Miller, Warner Brothers, has done nothing. Now, I'm also not saying that Warner Brothers is in an easy place. Obviously, they have paid millions upon millions of dollars for this movie to be made. It has been put through so many delays and so many production delays. It's almost ridiculous at this point. And the movie's been shot. It's being edited, I believe, in post-production. And obviously, as you can tell from this picture, Ezra Miller is in a significant portion of the movie. So I'm not saying it's easy. But I'm also saying that I find Warner Brothers' lack of action alarming. Especially, it's been now under one leadership change, I believe, and two different leadership regimes, I believe, that this has been going on. And I understand that Zaslav, the new head of Warner Brothers, is not in an easy situation, but and I don't have all the facts. I don't know everything, just like how none of you know everything about the situation. But what I do know is that it would be, at the very least, it would behoove Warner Brothers to put out a statement and address the situation, at the very least. And the fact that they haven't done any of that is alarming to me. Just as alarming as Ezra Miller's alleged behavior. So, as of the recording of this video, June 15th, 2022, Wednesday, and granted, there are many months before the Flash movie comes out, but as of the time of this video, I will not be seeing the Flash movie in theaters. I will not be paying Warner Brothers any of my money to see this movie. I find their lack of action alarming. I find Ezra Miller's actions alarming, if true. And I think that this whole situation has been handled poorly by nearly everybody. And so I've seen a couple comments on my community post saying that maybe other people, and I respect their opinions, absolutely, will wait to pass judgment because, there have been other celebrity scandals recently, not going to go into that might have turned out differently than we had originally thought. So this video, and I'm already going a lot longer on this than I really should be, so I'm just going to wrap it up and very quickly and say that this is not me making a definitive indictment on both Warner Brothers or Ezra Miller. This is me saying, as of the time of this video, this is my stance. If Warner Brothers comes out and chooses to pursue an investigation or takes significant action, whether it be recasting Ezra Miller, putting this movie on HBO Max, and even then, that might not be enough, but cutting the movie altogether, I don't know how they do that. Or if the situation changes, such as Ezra Miller's allegations all being proven false, which I find hard to believe at this point, but stranger things have happened, then I will change my mind and I will make a video or I will come out on the podcast and say it. But as of the time of this video, I will not be watching The Flash in theaters. And I would encourage you to do the same, although, again, I am not here to make up your mind for you. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I went on for way too long. Thank you guys for bearing with me. Let's move on to some other more lighter, interesting things. Speaking of light, this movie, Joker. That was a fun movie, wasn't it? So yeah, it's been a few years since the first Joker movie came out. It's been 3 years, I believe 3 years, right? 2019. I could be wrong about that. It might be 2018, but yeah, the first Joker came out, and I liked the movie. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was a very unique take on the character. I do believe we are in this period of Joker oversaturation, if that's even possible. But yeah, I thought the movie was interesting at the very least. It wasn't necessarily my cup of tea. I'm not going to call it, the best movie I've ever seen in my life. I don't even think it's the best DC movie I've ever seen in my life. Again, it's high bar because of The Dark Knight and all of those other movies. But it was a good movie, and Joaquin Phoenix gave an excellent performance in it. I don't think he deserved to win the Best Actor, quite frankly. I think Adam Driver, to name one, gave a better performance in Marriage Story, but that's just my opinion. But needless to say, this movie did very well with critics, and it won awards, and people seem to really like it. But what's more relevant to today's conversation is that it made $1 billion. $1 billion for this movie. That is insane. Even I would not have anticipated Joker making $1 billion. Deadpool, I would have guessed way before making, Joker. Has Deadpool made? I don't think Deadpool 2 has made $1 billion. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, no, it's crazy. This movie made $1 billion. So what do you do when a movie makes $1 billion? Even though I firmly believe this movie should not get a sequel, it's getting a sequel. I'm just gonna call it Joker 2. You can see the subtitle on the screen right now. I don't want to try to pronounce it because I'm just gonna butcher it. So I'm just gonna call it Joker 2. The subtitle is interesting. This is the first bit of news that came out a little while ago. Was the subtitle, and it apparently translates to Madness of Two, which was fascinating. And at the time, we'll get to what it actually probably means in a second. But at the time, we kind of thought, oh, maybe there's going to be two Jokers. Kind of, maybe he's having delusions because this condition, the subtitle, is actually the Madness of Two is apparently a real medical condition. I haven't done a lot of research into it, but apparently it has to do with delusions and things like that. So it's really it's a really interesting subtitle, actually. I thought it was kind of artsy and a little pretentious, if I'm going to be honest at first. I think it's interesting now. It's not my favorite subtitle. But yeah, so we all kind of thought, oh, that's what it is. Joaquin Phoenix was reading the script, so Joker 2 is underway. And then this happened. So I think it was yesterday, maybe the day before, probably 2 days ago, that it was apparently revealed through reputable trades that none other than Lady Gaga herself is in early negotiations to appear in the film as Harley Quinn. That's interesting. Now that is fascinating to me. But not only that, it gets even more interesting because not only is Lady Gaga going to appear as Harley Quinn if the negotiations go through and if the rumors are true, but it's going to be a musical. Wow. So, just to give a little bit of context, I heard the news about Lady Gaga being potentially cast in it first, and I was kind of like, she's a really good actress. We've seen it now in A Star Is Born and House of Gucci. She's a very talented actress. It's, she's not just the singer kind of trying to be an actress anymore. She is a very, very talented actress. But, to star in a Joker movie, it wouldn't have been my first choice. And in fact, she probably would not have even touched my list for a long while if I had to list a bunch of actresses I thought would have been good to pair alongside Joaquin Phoenix. It's not nothing against Lady Gaga. It's just, she hasn't been acting for that long. What she's done has been amazing, but just not the first name that comes to mind. And then I hear that it's going to be a musical, and all of a sudden I go, no, yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense if that's the direction they're going, because, I would be hard-pressed to name right now a better actress/singer that's in the business today. I think that you want to find someone who can act, and you want to find someone who can sing. I think Lady Gaga is probably the only one out there, really, for this role. So I was surprised at first, but then I go, no, yeah, it makes sense. I'm on board. If that's the way they're going. Now, I'm not sure if I'm on board completely with the idea of a musical in general. I think it's interesting, and I think, frankly, that I don't think a sequel should have been made in the first place. So if you're going to make a sequel, I applaud them for doing something weird and crazy because, again, I don't want just a conventional Joker 2 with the same exact kind of tone and story. I think, doing something different is cool. I haven't heard Joaquin Phoenix sing. I don't know if he does sing. His voice doesn't led me to believe that he sings. He's a professionally trained singer. I could be totally wrong. That could be just a totally wacko assumption on my end. But yeah, count me as one of the people who are surprised that this is a musical. Now, if it works, Todd Phillips, what a genius, right? If it doesn't work, I mean, we still have the first Joker, but I think if it doesn't work, what I smell here, then we might start talking about corporate greed and why do we need to make this sequel in the first place. So I mean, that's the difficult position that this sequel is in. It needs to really justify its existence in the first place. I think the first movie also really needed to justify its existence in the first place as well. And I think that's a unique challenge that this, making solo adaptations of a Joker movie, now with Harley Quinn, by the way, it really needs to justify itself. And again, going back to this whole idea of the madness of two, there are so many different ways they can go. I'm really curious actually to what this is going to sort of, if at all, if it's going to impact what Margot Robbie's doing, if she's doing anything else with Harley Quinn in the near future. She survived, spoiler alert, the Suicide Squad. I find it a little strange that there's two Harley Quinns running around. I thought it was a little strange that, there were two Jokers running around, and now there are going to be three Jokers potentially running around: Jared Leto, Joaquin Phoenix, and Barry Keoghan. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. I'm sorry. I told you I'm really bad with pronunciations. I'm not going to try to pronounce the subtitle of this movie, but I think that it's interesting, especially with the multiverse just being a huge thing right now. It's kind of like, I guess you can have these parallel universes running together, but then you have the Pattinson universe, and I don't know. I find it interesting, at least. I don't know if I'm excited for this movie. I also don't know that I'm not excited for the movie. I just think I'm interested right now. Again, this is something that I think could spectacularly fail, and if it does, we have the first Joker. Even then, I don't love the first Joker, but again, they're swinging for the fences. And as a fan of comic book movies and a fan of blockbuster media, I, can't complain about that at all. So, Joker 2 on the way. Interesting stuff. Let's talk about Ms. Marvel. This is the portion of the spoiler review, the spoiler review. I'm getting ahead of myself. The part of the podcast where it's all spoiler reviews. I have 4 projects that I'm going to be talking about today. The timestamps will be in the description below, so if you haven't seen any of them, they will all be spoiler reviews, just like last week. I realized that this week and next week, I had to stay up till, I didn't have to. I did. I stayed up till 2 a.m. watching Ms. Marvel and Obi-Wan. Next week will be the last week of that. The Disney Plus, what is it? Disney Plus sort of dropping 2 of their big shows at the same time. I'm not a huge fan of it, honestly. I mean, not just the fact that I have to lose sleep over it. That's whatever. Like, it is what it is. I just think that why not have something to look forward to on multiple days of the week? It's great to have both of them on Wednesday, but I actually really like the Friday release. I know there's money reasons and business reasons to have them on Wednesday. I really don't love the Wednesday releases, to be honest. I actually really liked when they released on Friday. I think even Saturday would be fun. I know that's not going to fly at all for business reasons. But having, I know She-Hulk and Andor are going to be running at the same time, probably, and Bad Batch is probably going to run. I think at some point you're just going to have everything dumping on Wednesday. And I don't understand why we can't just have one on Wednesday and one on Friday. I digress. This is a huge tangent and inside. But we're going to be talking about Ms. Marvel Episode 2. If you haven't seen it, please come back and watch the video or listen to the podcast later. But without further ado, let's get into it. The first thing I want to say, and this is, this might be kind of an interesting slide. For those of you who haven't seen the show, Kim's Convenience, it's on Netflix. It just got canceled, which makes me so sad. And as you can see in the left hand side, there's Simu Liu, who plays a character named Jung in the show, and this is really where he got discovered, I believe. This is one of his first big acting roles, and this show is really funny. It's really, really funny. It's a sitcom about a Canadian-Korean family who owns a convenience store living in Canada, just kind of living their lives and all the interpersonal drama of the family, their friends, loved ones, relationships, friendships, all that sort of stuff. And the reason that I bring it up, aside from just, pointing out that, hey, it's Simu Liu, and this is where he first started, acting, or whatever. This is not where he first started acting, but I guess this was his big break. I don't know. I don't know why we're talking about Simu Liu so much. But this show, Ms. Marvel, actually reminds me a lot of Kim's Convenience, because it's really centered around the family. and it's really centered around all the interpersonal sort of relationships, and it has a very actually similar sense of humor, because you're talking about families who are not originally from America, who immigrated to America and have very unique stories about them, right? So they have a different cultural aspect of them, and they're these different families from different cultures and ethnicities coming from different countries, and sort of living in America with their unique identities. And I think that that's really cool. That's something that I think that Miss Marvel is doing really well. And I also just to bring up another one of my favorite show of all time, Friends. Miss Marvel actually really feels like a sitcom, and I don't know if you guys know this. I love sitcoms to death. I just love sitcoms so much, and to see an MCU show kind of tackle a sitcom like this. It's not a sitcom in the sense that it's all in one little location and stuff, but it has the same kind of vibe, and just that it's about a few characters. It's about their relationships with one another, kind of coming of age, growing up, going through life together, just with superpowers. I think that that's awesome. I feel like Miss Marvel could have been a show that went on for 20 episodes, to be honest. I know the MCU doesn't do this, and it makes me sad. But I feel like they should at some point just make a true sitcom with superpowers. WandaVision was 9 episodes, and that was fun. She-Hulk's going to be 9 episodes. I don't have super high hopes for that one, but I didn't have super high hopes for this show either, so we'll see. But yeah, me personally, just right off the bat, this episode solidified it even more with the opening, and with the whole, even the dynamic between Bruno and Kamran, I believe is his name, and Kamala. I think it's just great. I think it's really harkening back to just this the trope of sitcoms, and I think that it's working really well. Speaking of working really well, I think that, for her first acting credit, Iman Vellani is just crushing it. I have never been endeared, I think, to a character in the MCU, or even many other shows or movies, more than I have been to Kamala Khan. I now desperately want Kamala Khan to interact with Peter Parker. I think they would just be so funny together. Just these kind of dorky high school kids. I know Peter Parker is unknown now, but they will interact at some point. And Young Avengers maybe. Just to have an entire team of Kamala Khan, Kate Bishop, Peter Parker, Yelena Belova, Stature, I'm sure in Ant-Man 3 will be awesome. I think it's just so funny. And again, just going back to the sitcom kind of thing, it's just so endearing to kind of see these group. Nakia, I believe is her name, Bruno, Kamala, just going through high school, just going through life, and I find those parts of the show really interesting. I also kind of love, I didn't have it pictured here. Do I have a picture of Damage Control? I don't think I got a picture of Damage Control. I'll just talk about it here quickly. Actually, I'll talk about it here because this is the scene in episode 2 where Zoe, the girl who was at Avenger Con, who saw Kamala, and later gets apprehended by Damage Control. They're kind of listening to her talk. I think that Damage Control is interesting. Anyone else kind of catch the oddly really kind of racist remarks that racial profiling rather that I watched this at 1:30 in the morning, so I was a little startled when I kind of jolted up a little bit when that the woman who is assisting the agent from No Way Home says something that was mildly alarming to me. I don't know why that's a part of her character. I haven't seen the episode again. I need to watch it again to see if that was intentionally a character choice or if I just kind of misheard something, but that was interesting, I guess. But yeah, Damage Control. I'll talk about it here really briefly. I think they'll be an interesting part of the show. I think the Stark drones kind of coming back, if those were the Stark drones, is also another neat little tie-in to the MCU. And so I'm enjoying the little nods, hints here and there of the MCU. I think this is how you make a sitcom in the MCU. It's just little hints and nods here and there, and obviously the Captain Marvel stuff. But I'm just super happy with the tone that they've struck. It's so unabashedly itself. I think that what really sunk the Falcon and the Winter Soldier is that it felt so unabashedly MCU formulaic, generic in most situations, in most sections of the show. And I have to say, most of the other shows at the very least have been unique, just crazy. And the more we go on, the more we say there's not been a show like this. I think WandaVision, there's not been a show like this. Loki, I think it was just a really cool sci-fi kind of thing, time traveling kind of thing. Hawkeye, I think, is a little more just like a Christmas adventure, but you get to Moon Knight, which is, I thought it started out really interestingly and then kind of sputtered out at the end a little bit. But this show just takes it up to 11, just all the graphics going on in the background and the text bubbles. And I love it. I personally, I can understand why people wouldn't. Some people wouldn't. And if you don't, that's perfectly fine. But I personally I love it. I also love that, the relationship between the characters, right? Like, you get to see a little bit more between Kamala and Nakia here in this episode, and I think that's great. Is it? I was going to say something, but I totally just blanked on that. But anyways, the relationship between, these two is great, and that she's running for the board or something like that, the election. I think it's a really fun subplot. It makes it feel less superhero-y and more human. Obviously, the continued relationship between Kamala and Bruno. On a quick aside, I don't love the CGI here, or in the rest of the show. In both of the Disney Plus episodes that I watched last night, the CGI in certain places is just kind of, I'm just gonna say, bad. It's not good. And so I hope that the powers, become something a little better. Or a little different, at least, because you could really tell they were animating over her hand, I think, in certain areas, especially during the training montages. But anyways, it's not amazing. But I love Bruno again. His decision to go to Caltech or not, that could be interesting. Young Avengers, West Coast Avengers, we'll see. I don't know. Just going to California makes you a West Coast Avenger. I don't know. And I think that the really interesting, the love triangle between her and Kamran and Bruno is going to be really interesting. I think I think it's a fun love triangle. I think that the relationship between Bruno and Kamala, I think if, they become a couple, it's going to be really fun. He's kind of like the Ned Leeds, I guess, to Peter Parker. Obviously, Ned and Peter aren't romantically really. It's kind of similar, actually. They have their own trio. Ned and MJ are together. Which I think Bruno and Kamala will be together by the end of the series, and then there's the not the comic relief, I guess, but the funny third character Ned, and then Nakia, and I think it's fun. I enjoy these trio dynamics; they're fun. Here are her powers again. This scene it's interesting. I think Nightlight, it's fine. This is probably one of the weaker parts of the show, saving the kid. Kind of experimenting with her powers. I think it's fine. It's cute. But what really is interesting about the show, I mean, I was on board with just the, like this stuff, right? The sitcom stuff. This kind of reminds me of a Community, by the way. Just the sort of aesthetic. But anyways, if you haven't seen Community, the first 4 seasons are really fun. But this stuff, right? With Kamran and this lady here, who I saw this at 1:30. I watched a couple of videos of people talking about it. I think New Rockstar said this is the same woman in the car who Kamran calls his mother. Interesting. I think that this other dimension, I think the MCU kind of needs to eventually explain what's going on here with all of these other dimensions and all of these gods and all of these, ancestral planes and mirror dimensions, and now this thing and the duat. And I think there needs to be some explanation of kind of, the Celestials and the Watchers and stuff. They need to kind of explain it somewhere. But for now, it's cool. We'll just enjoy the ride. The mystery behind, her lineage, I think it's really cool. This idea that, Kamala has this sort of lineage and her powers sort of come from where she, like her family. I kind of think, it works both ways, right? I think I would have bought it also if it was just kind of an oopsies. I got these powers from a cosmic radiation, kind of like Carol Danvers did. And then you kind of have Monica Rambeau going through the field on her own. And Kamala, it's a family thing. So I kind of think that in the Marvels, you're going to have a really interesting dynamic between how they all got their powers. I will say, I think Brie Larson is good, fine in Captain Marvel, the movie. I think she's good in the movie. She was really bad in Endgame, but Endgame was filmed before Captain Marvel, so I'm gonna give it a pass. Um, and I don't love Monica Rambeau. I don't think she's terrible either. I don't love the character that much. So I think that now, just if I didn't love Miss Marvel, I think I would have really been dreading the Marvels. But with Kamala Khan, I think that the interplay between those characters is going to be really fun. But anyways, going back to this picture here, with the ancestor, what an interesting picture, I yeah, I'm really curious to kind of see, like, are the bracelets from sort of the same technology as the 10 Rings? That's been a theory that's come out. I'm just really curious what happened. I also love that they're bringing in real world history with a partition. I don't know enough about the history of this region to really be able to talk about it. But what the show made me do is want to read up on it and really think about it more. Just the brutalities of what the world and civilizations can do, colonizations, with England and Britain and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, I'm just really excited, and again, with this character of Kamran, what they did so well. And for those of you who don't know, Spider-Man Far From Home is one of my favorite movies in the MCU, and I promise this will be relevant to Miss Marvel, and then we'll move on to Obi-Wan. One of the things that they did so well in Far From Home, for those of you who don't know, I'm currently a university student, so when Far From Home came out, I was in high school. And I love Far From Home because it captured what being in high school really was, the triumphs of asking, your crush out and the failures and the disappointments and the nerves and wanting to be with your friends and have a fun time on a school trip and worrying about stupid things and making stupid decisions that are really dumb in hindsight, like Peter giving up Edith glasses to Mysterio kind of things. Obviously not that catastrophic, but what I can appreciate so much about Miss Marvel is that this show is capturing that same spirit of high school, and I love how Kamala is just dancing around, just so excited that this guy likes her, this guy who she really thinks is like way above her league, kind of based on the performance and based on the character, but he likes her, and Bruno's upset obviously, which is funny. And I mean, like, to think about how happy you would be, and then to just realize at the end of this episode that it was all a plant, it was all a setup, or was it? Maybe Kamran actually does have feelings for Kamala, but yeah, I kind of thought at the beginning, I was like, oh, this is a bit convenient, like, oh, she gets the guy of her dreams or whatever, and he seems to like everything she likes. I didn't think it was going to be that he was a setup for anything. I really didn't, actually. I think that was actually a really clever subversion of expectations there. And so I'm really excited for episode 3. I'm really excited for this series. I'm still nervous because, Marvel only released the first 2 episodes to critics, and they released the first 4 episodes of Moon Knight. Moon Knight's first 2 episodes were amazing. Loki's first 2 episodes were amazing. WandaVision's first 2 episodes were really fun. And so I don't want to get my hopes up again because I really thought Loki was a disappointing series overall. I thought Moon Knight ended a little bit weakly. And I'm just hoping that this show can deliver on the promises it's made. But at this point, I'm in a very much a wait and see kind of mode. But yeah, I love the first 2 episodes so far. It's right up there with WandaVision. For now. I mean, obviously, WandaVision had some really emotional moments. I love WandaVision, but we'll see. We will see. Let's talk about Obi-Wan, episode 5. So, just to give a bit of a recap, and my spoiler review of episodes 1 through 4 is up on the channel in the last podcast episode. I have been underwhelmed with the series. I think one of the things I said after the first 2 episodes was that, I'm excited for the series because it seems to know what it wants, right? It seems to know from beginning to end where it wants to go. And now I'm just not so sure about that after episode 4 and a bit of episode 2. And what I find interesting about this series is that it feels like you cut out episode 4 entirely and you cut out most of episode 2 and you have a tremendous first 3 episodes of a series that is building up to so you have the first confrontation with Obi-Wan at the end of Act 1 against Vader, and he is just overwhelmed. He's overmatched. And then you're building up to, what is now going to be the finale confrontation in episode 6, but what could have been sort of an episode 4 confrontation with Vader, which is gonna be epic and cool. And you can kind of see Obi-Wan kind of gaining his powers back. And then you have another 3 episodes to build up towards really the bigger confrontation. Because I feel like, this epic confrontation that they've been building up towards, and that's going to happen at the end of episode 6, obviously, it doesn't feel as satisfying because it doesn't feel like we've been building up to it. All the stuff with Vader, I love. Everything with Vader, I love. Everything with Vader, I love. I think I can say that. The problem is that he's been in about 15 to 20 minutes of maybe 2 or 3 hours of material. And that's not great, because we'll talk about Rev. I think that they did a lot of work in this episode to kind of redeem Rev. And I think I'll eventually go back and rewatch the series from beginning to end. But I'm sort of treating this series like Rebels right now. I'll move on to kind of breaking down what happens in the episode in just a second. But I just wanted to say I'm kind of feeling like how I feel about Rebels, in the sense that I really don't like Rebels as a series that much. I think that Rebels has its, ups and downs, and I think that I don't like Ezra Bridger as a character. I think he's actually really whiny, and nothing against the voice actor. People like it, I guess. I really don't. But Rebels has some incredible moments in it. The Ahsoka Vader fight in Rebels. By the way, Rebels isn't even an Ahsoka Vader show, but that happens in the show, and it's like, oh yeah, wow. Amazing. The entire Obi-Wan Maul episode, amazing. So, to kind of say that at the end of the day, and obviously episode 6 could be amazing. I thought episode 5 was really good. I don't think it was peak. I think it's about the same as episode 3. I think episode 3 and episode 5 are just really quite good. Episode 1 is also very good. Nothing from beginning to end where I go, yeah, this is incredible. But what I think it is really is just that there are moments, within the series that I'm going to be rewatching over and over and over again. I rewatch the Ahsoka Vader clip often because it's so good. And I'm going to be rewatching the Vader Obi-Wan fight, I'm sure, at the end of episode 6, depending on how they shoot it. We'll get to how they shoot this show. It's weird how cheap it looks sometimes. But anyways. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just was tired when I watched this. Does anyone else think that if you look at this shot, and we'll get to Hayden in just a second, you can tell, right? It's in the volume, right? The pillars are probably there, but the entire rest of the background, you can't see me waving at the screen, but the entire rest of the background is in the volume, right? We can tell, right? Maybe that's just me. The volume, for those of you who don't know, is the new technology that Star Wars has been using to film things, where it's really beautiful. It's an enormous screen that sort of acts as a green screen, but they have projected the background so the actors can actually see what they're acting as. It's brilliant technology. It's just that I think the volume technology needs to take another couple steps up. It's, like when CGI first really got good and stuff like that, 3D animation. Anyways, let's get into episode 5. I think episode 5 is very good and has some awesome moments. I also think that it kind of shows that, the show didn't really know what it wanted to be. Not as badly as the Book of Boba Fett, mind you. If they threw in a Mandalorian episode here, hey, here's the flashback to the Purge Mandalore, whatever, the Siege of Mandalore, it's oh, okay. That's weird. But yeah, it didn't do any of that. I hope it doesn't. Hayden's back. Finally. I wish I could say that, this is this is some great revelation, here. Because, I'm so excited, but it's kind of sad because, it's episode 5 and he's in the episode for a really wonderful 5 minutes cut throughout the entire episode. And I thought his acting right off the bat, 1,000 times better. Just 1,000 times better. And you know what it is there's a line, I meant to write it down. I totally forgot what it was, but I've been thinking about this ever since I finished the episode. There's a line where they're dueling. And Hayden kind of, Anakin's fighting Obi-Wan, and he kind of lunges at him with a swing, and he says something like, now you will lose, or time for you to lose, or I think it's now you will lose, or something like that. And it starts like low, and it kind of escalates into a yell as he kind of swings his saber. And right there, for the first time, because I've said in many other videos, Matt Lanter's voice is Anakin Skywalker to me. Hayden Christensen's body, physique, whatever, appearance, and Matt Lanter's voice is Anakin Skywalker to me. But for the first time, I heard Matt Lanter's voice in Hayden. And I think it's just because it was a little deeper and more emotive. But if you go back, I believe it's in the second flashback in the episode. I'll try to find a timestamp and put it in the description. I probably won't remember this once I'm editing, but go back to the episode and look for it. Look for the flashback where he says something about losing to Obi-Wan, and you can hear like the merging of Matt Lanter and Hayden Christensen into one character, and I love it. I love it, and it's a perfect, like, this performance is a perfect merging of, this is still Hayden. Right? Like, Hayden was Hayden in the prequels. But it's what it should have been. Right? With obviously better dialogue, of course, but it's still Hayden and Ewan. And it's just great. People have said, and I noticed this too, I'm like, oh yeah, they didn't really de-age him. Why? He looks older. It's weird. Like, Ewan kind of looks the same, I guess, but Hayden looks older. And I don't know. Whatever. Not a big deal. Anyone else can anyone else tell that this is in the volume, like, very clearly? I even think that the volume is like a curved screen like this. So, anyways, it's not a big deal. But some of the visuals, and we'll get to the way things are shot in a second. Some of the visuals are just, I don't know, a little underwhelming to me. But and then we get Vader reflecting on this, and I mean, that's great. Like, this is the stuff that this show should have been. And I'm disappointed. I'm glad they're wrapping up Reva's story. Not that I hate Reva as a character. I just think it's about, it makes sense that they're about to wrap up her character arc. Although they don't kill her, which doesn't make sense either. I don't know. She has to be in episode 6. Vader leaving her alive is something that confused me. I know a lot of people have said that already. Whatever. It is what it is. But yeah, like this and this and this is perfect. Perfect. This is what the show should have been all along. Anyways, love that. We'll talk about. Actually, we'll talk about Tala right now. I mean, this is just a nice picture of the two of them there. We'll talk about Tala. I haven't seen Game of Thrones, so I don't know enough about this actress. I know she's in Game of Thrones. I didn't really care about her character. They made this really slow, dramatic death scene for her, and I just didn't care. So, but when the time it came, by the time it came up, I was like, oh, okay, hopefully we kind of can get past this. And I don't want to sound callous. I sound very callous right now, but I just didn't care about the character, and it's kind of disappointing because they spent like 3 minutes in slow motion on this death scene. I think the grenade thing was cool. But again, I just, I didn't really care about the character at all. So sorry, it is what it is. But, Reva, let's get out. Oh, this shot, by the way. Wow, these shots. We'll get to that in a second. Let's talk about, we'll talk about Reva and Vader a little bit later, but let's talk about Reva's plan, I guess. Sorry about the chair. You guys can hear the chair creaking. I was a little iffy on the performance by Moses Ingram. Again, like I said in the last episode, nothing to do with anything about her or her identity. If any of you are conflating the two, please leave the channel. No racist, nothing like that. Please don't be that person. Don't be that awful person who says, terrible things about a person's race. I don't want to get into that right now. You can watch last week's episode. But I just, I wasn't a fan of her character in general. I just thought she was a little bit too over the top, and I think she still is. But I actually am getting on board with the twist, sort of, of her plan. Because here's the thing, we all kind of knew that she would turn on Vader at some point. I had always kind of assumed, though, that it would be something like where she goes, "Oh, I've seen the error of my ways, Obi-Wan. I want to help you now, and let's defeat Vader." And she dies because Vader has to kill her. She probably still will die. I think Vader will kill her on Tatooine, which I don't know why you're going back to Tatooine. We'll talk about that at the end of this episode. But yeah, I think that I was worried because I'm like, that doesn't make sense. What does make a lot more sense is actually what they decided to do. Now, I've seen a lot of people saying, well, they're going to redeem her, and they might in episode 6. I actually don't think they are. I think that this is a case of sort of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And I think you kind of see that with her conversation with Obi-Wan. Because I think that, people were saying, like, how do you redeem her still if, she's killed these people brutally and she's hunting Jedi? It's all in an effort to confront Anakin and kill him. And I don't think that redemption is what's going to drive. It's revenge, very clearly. So I don't think she's going to be redeemed to the light side. I think she's fully made her turn to the dark side because revenge is what is driving her. But it's revenge towards another dark side user. And I think that that's really interesting. I don't think there's any redemption for this character at all. I think she knows fully what she's doing. And I think that the hatred for Obi-Wan is really actually compelling because she knew that Anakin was his Padawan. And I would be upset too at Obi-Wan. Like, you should have done better. And that, that kind of stuff should have been really more in the previous episodes, but whatever, it's fine. It is what it is. But no, like, I think that her motivations are clear. So I think I have to go back to the previous episodes and rewatch them eventually, which I will, and kind of see how that plays out in her performance because I think the idea of a long con, I don't know how long of a con you were going to play. And also the way that she kind of tries to kill him is really dumb. Like, you're really going to sneak up to Vader, when in A New Hope he could sense Obi-Wan, like on the Death, or not the Death Star. No, yeah, on the Death Star, right? Yeah. It's dumb, I think, but whatever. It is what it is. But I think I'm on board more with this plan, this idea. I gotta speed through the rest of these because we got some stuff to get through. But yeah, okay. Let's talk. I mean, these two shots. These are just here because I love them. Although the ship leaving was so CGI to me, it was a little baffling. But this is a beautiful shot. This could be a screensaver right here. Love it. Yeah, like I said, the confrontation between her and Vader. I love how Vader just toys with her. He's like, I'll give you back a saber. We can fight. And she gets overwhelmed. It's amazing. Hey, they don't break canon. There you go. I don't think there was ever a doubt that they would break canon. The Grand Inquisitor is back. They don't explain why. It's fine. He has 3 stomachs. It's fine. Or 2 stomachs, I think. Yeah. No, I think that this stuff here with the Vader dueling Reva was great. Reva picking up the beacon and finding out it's on Tatooine. So for those of you who watch on Disney Plus, you see that when you open up the Obi-Wan, I'll leave it at this beautiful screensaver as I talk. You see that the poster is Vader's lightsaber and Obi-Wan on Tatooine, or at least on a sandy planet. And I'd always thought, especially after Episode 3, when he does the same thing on Dayu. Is that the planet? No, it's I don't remember the planet. But he does that same pose with lightsabers in the center frame and Obi-Wan's in the background. But it was on the other planet. And I had always just kind of assumed, oh, well, Obi-Wan's on Tatooine, so they just kind of photoshopped him in. Now, though, because of what Reva sees in the hologram from Bail, I have to assume that they're going back to Tatooine again. And that, look, the one thing that I thought this show couldn't do was head to Tatooine. Especially if you're going to have Leia there, and especially if you're going to have Luke there. It just doesn't make sense. Why would Vader... And they might explain something why he never returns to Tatooine. In fact, that might be the redeeming, factor of this whole thing. I just don't know. I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me why you would go back to Tatooine and why Vader would go back to Tatooine in canon. Why he never went back to look for Luke. He was like, hey, Owen lives here. Like, why not look out for Owen? See what he's up to. I don't know. It doesn't make sense. It could make sense. I don't want to put out judgment before I've seen the episode. So, again, here's another great shot. I think that, the Obi-Wan series has been a little underwhelming, like I said. I think that they're wrapping up things really well, though. Certain things really well. They're setting up a lot of questions. Hopefully episode 6 delivers. This episode was also like 35 minutes. That's disappointing. I'm just hoping that, because I don't think the show itself has been all that great, like overall, in terms of just a single narrative, unlike a show like Miss Marvel so far or Stranger Things 4. But what I'm hoping for at the very least, and if not more, is just a great 20-minute, 15-minute duel between Vader and Obi-Wan. Kind of like, Revenge of the Sith. 15 minutes is a long time. Like 10 minutes, of a duel that I can watch over and over and over again. That's all I want. That is all I want. Jurassic World Dominion. Let's talk about it. So, I saw 2 movies this past weekend. And because of time, I won't talk about either of them for too long. I don't think there's a lot to talk about for either of them, to be quite honest with you. But here we are, Jurassic World Dominion. And I also saw another movie that I'll talk about right after this. Give a spoiler review. Jurassic World, for those of you, just to give some quick thoughts, quick background. I actually really like the first Jurassic World. Obviously not Jurassic Park. Nothing is Jurassic Park. It's a great movie. But I like Jurassic World. And so I was looking forward to Fallen Kingdom. I really didn't like Fallen Kingdom. And I was telling somebody actually that it's really interesting in 2022, within 2 months of each other, there are 2 franchise films that came out. Both with really enjoyable first movies, I thought. Really bad second movies that almost got me off the train for these franchises. But a third movie that I thought, had the potential based on the trailers to get me back. First one being Fantastic Beasts, which I haven't had a chance to talk about. Not the Crimes of Grindelwald, the Secrets of Dumbledore. I really like the Secrets of Dumbledore. Secrets of Dumbledore, if I can talk. And I'm back on board with that franchise if they make more. I thought it was fun, I'm interested now in the grand duel of Dumbledore and Grindelwald. So I thought, based on the trailers and based on the premise of this movie with dinosaurs on the Earth, yeah, I could be back on board with the Jurassic World franchise. I know it's ending, but, I could really enjoy this movie. Right off the bat, spoilers. This amazing sequence that was in the trailer where they went 65 million years ago and they showed the beginning of the dinosaurs. Just an amazing trailer. And then they show this T-Rex rampaging in a drive-in theater. Not in the movie. Because, okay, look. I'm not one of those people who get too upset when things that are in the trailer aren't in the movie, especially if they're for good reason. That's fine, doesn't matter. But I am a little upset when you market your movie a certain way and it's something completely different, especially with what you marketing, what you're marketing being something amazing. I think back to Iron Man 3. Those trailers, if you watch the trailers for Iron Man 3, are dark and gritty and brutal. And I love that trailer. I love the tone of those trailers. And, to this day, 9 years later, I'm still trying to disconnect the two because I actually think Iron Man 3 is a really fun film. But I just wanted what the trailers promised. And in any case, we got this. Or no, we were promised this. And instead we got this. Locusts and Peter Parker's dad from the Amazing Spider-Man franchise. Locusts. Yeah, why? Well, what? Oops. What am I doing? Sorry guys, my slides are getting all wonky. Let me see if I can do this manually. There we go. Okay, there we go. Locusts. Why? Okay. Let me be a little more fair. So we're gonna get some things that I didn't like out of the way first, and then we'll wrap up the review. It's gonna be quick. With some of the things I did like. This CEO guy, not Jeff Goldblum. I think he was fine. Jeff Goldblum, Ian Malcolm. He was good. He was fine. CEO Dodson, who was in the original movie, played by a different actor. I didn't remember that. I found out later. And Biosyn. We don't need another corporation. Your premise is there. It can pick up it doesn't have to pick up 4 years after the Jurassic World film. It can pick up like days after Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom. Dinosaurs are everywhere. What do we do? That's a movie. And they skipped over that for this? Anyways. So that's one thing. It's like, why isn't this movie about dinosaurs rampaging across the earth? And in the end of the movie, you just have this montage of everybody living together happily and in harmony. It makes no sense. The original cast, with the new cast, fine. I like seeing them again, but I think their characters were really sloppily written. It was obviously, it was clear Alan Grant was in love with Ellie and all that stuff. Ian Malcolm was his quirky self. He's off in the left corner. The picture was too big. It got cut off. I'm sorry. Chris Pratt. I thought Chris Pratt and Bryce Dallas Howard actually really, much better in the film. I thought DeWanda Wise. Sorry, she got cut off on the screen. Picture's just too big. What was also good, and I actually thought that the girl who played Clone Girl, Maisie, was also really good. One of my favorite parts of the movie was the dynamic between Owen, Claire, and Maisie. I thought that their family dynamic was actually quite interesting and quite compelling, which is unusual for a Jurassic World film to have any characters be that compelling, aside from Jurassic Park, obviously. But I thought that worked well. They were separated, though, for the remainder of the 2/3 of the movie. And honestly, to be quite honest with you guys, I've been traveling a little bit, so I was a little jet lagged when I saw this movie. So it could have just been, I'm getting a phone call. How about that? Should I answer it live on the podcast? I am going to ignore that. Sorry about that. Yeah, but I was a little tired when I saw this movie, and I thought, maybe that's why, because I was falling asleep in basically every scene that wasn't action, which is a really bad thing because this movie is 2 hours and 40 minutes long. It is 2 hours and 40 minutes long. And unless this is happening, which this stuff was awesome. I don't know why the hand thing works on every dinosaur now. This is kind of absurd. Just like eat him, but whatever. But this stuff like woke me up. The Malta scene, Malta, I believe it was, yeah, was awesome. Some of the ending stuff with the dinosaurs was fun. Every other scene I was falling asleep in. I know I was going to say I was going to get to some stuff I liked. I liked the action a lot. Like, this is a sort of backhanded compliment. I really liked the action. It was fun. But again, this movie isn't atrocious, I don't think. But like, why, the story is right there in front of you. Like, make that story. Dinosaurs are roaming the earth. What are we going to do about it? Anyways. So, Jurassic World Dominion, I don't want to see these movies anymore, to be honest. Like, let's just watch Jurassic Park. Let's just watch Jurassic World. Let's be done with it. It's fine. Whatever. I don't know. I don't know. A movie, though, that brought back legacy characters, well, I guess couple legacy characters really well. I saw this past weekend, Top Gun Maverick. This movie is awesome. Now, I'm gonna kind of get a couple things out of the way, before I really get into the review. Just a couple of the negative things out of the way really quickly, because I want to talk about all the great things about this movie. This movie's awesome. The plot isn't game changing. Big surprise. It's because, and the best way I can describe this movie is it is the best kind of 80s movie made in 2022. It had, the plot itself, like, it's just, you're training pilots and, you got a squad, you got a dangerous mission, like, it's almost like Mission Impossible in that sense. You have a dangerous mission. Are you going to make it out alive? Right up until the end, actually, when Tom Cruise kind of sacrifices himself, I was like, yeah, I could have predicted this whole movie, basically. He obviously was going to pick Rooster, and obviously he was going to have, his problems with Rooster throughout the entire film until he picks him. And, up until that point, I was like, yeah, I know what this movie is. I was actually a little surprised, though, that they had this whole extended sequence after that where they're escaping this base, enemy base. And that part was a little jarring because it kind of felt like an addendum to the movie. Kind of felt like we ended the movie, Tom Cruise sacrificed himself. Oh, wait, 20 minutes, he escapes. On the one hand, I appreciate it for kind of bucking the conventional story tropes and story archetypes. On the other hand, I was like, it is a little jarring to kind of just add that 20 minutes onto the end. I don't know. I mean, obviously more plain action is awesome, but I was like, yeah, don't know. But you're here for the plain stuff, right? You're here for the plain stuff. And my goodness, this is one of the most visually gorgeous films I've ever seen in my life. Like, say what you will about Tom Cruise and his crazy stunts, but this is this is what the movies are about, right? Like sitting in the theater and watching the plane. I was on the edge of my seat. I was sweating, even though, I mean, Tom Cruise could have died, right? Anyone could have died. Like you felt the gravity of these planes. Like these were real planes, just fighter jets or whatever they are. Wow. I'm still floored by. This is a movie, by the way. This podcast episode will probably come out Thursday. Clips will come out on Friday. If you haven't seen this movie, by the way, in a theater, please watch it in a theater. You can watch it at home. It's not going to be the same. It's just not. So watch it in a theater if you can. I thought the rest of the crew was good for the most part. I liked Miles Teller's Rooster. I thought that there was some good, natural antagonism between him and Maverick, and it was fine. You can kind of predict a lot of the archetype of the bully was there in Hangman, and but he kind of comes back and redeems himself at the end, which was fun. Jennifer Connelly in the movie, she was good, sort of as the love interest. But guys, this is what you're here for. I cannot say enough, because I know that this isn't going to be the longest spoiler review in the world, because there's not a lot that I can really talk about, here. That it's like plane sequences, but the plane sequences are incredible and worth the price of admission alone. The sequence, like even the heist planning sequences, you can see how they're training. You can see how, Maverick is being pushed and he's pushing everyone else. And, again, like I said before, the plot of this movie isn't really what's going to sell it, because it's very predictable. Like, it's not like Inception, or it's not, I don't know, another Nolan film like Interstellar or whatever, Tenet. It's not gonna blow your socks off with how complex and intricate the plot is. But again, like, it doesn't have to be, because it's just the visuals alone in this movie. I wish I could play some clips here. It's a podcast, so I really shouldn't. But the planes, go see this movie in theaters. That's all I'm going to say about it. It is incredible. And with that, guys, that is it for today's episode of the Access Blockbusters pod. Just made it in at about just over an hour. Good timing on my part. You guys don't care at all. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching and listening. And next week, look forward to a Lightyear review. I'm going to see that this weekend. I'm really excited for that. Look forward in the future to, obviously, the Stranger Things 4 Volume 2 is coming out. The Umbrella Academy Season 3 is coming in. If you guys would like to see a review of The Boys Season 3, I can do that as well. Thor: Love and Thunder. We got some stuff coming out. Obviously, Obi-Wan wraps up next week. Ms. Marvel will keep going until July. It's going to be a fun summer, guys. I'm really excited about it. So let me know. Send your feedback in the comments down below. I don't know why the Stranger Things clip was the only one that disabled comments for some reason. That was weird. It was a little bizarre. I'll try to look into that and fix that. But all the other videos have comment sections, so please comment down below. Please give this video a like. On YouTube, please leave 5-star ratings on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Let me know what you think. And without further ado, that'll be it from me. I can't talk. Wow. I'm trying to do an outro. Access Blockbusters Pod, episode 14. Thank you guys so much for listening, for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.